Sunshine, blue skies, gotta cry. Feeling supposed to cross the line. Since the pain, oh yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Pivotal Moments. Of course, this is season 4, and I just cannot believe that we are here. Mike and I were actually just talking about just the progression of Pivotal Moments. So I'm so excited. Season 4 is here, alive and well. And so let's get into it. So, of course, this is all about the pivotal moment, the thing that changed for you, and then celebrating where you are. So today's guest is a good friend. I'm saying good friend, even though it's been, 6 months?
We've been good friends.
Right. But I am happy to share that I have Mike Williams joining the conversation today. The growth coach of Northern Virginia, business coach. Y'all know I don't get deep into the bios because I want the person to really share who they are. But I mean, just top notch. Mike has also joined BCN. So I'm so excited to just be doing work with Mike. So Mike, welcome to Pivotal Moments.
Thanks for having me, Lita, and congratulations on everything that you're doing with Pivotal Moments, with BCN, your first conference. You're doing a ton of things, and absolutely, we are good friends because we've had some good talks about where we are and where we want to go. So that's exciting stuff. I'm Mike Williams. I'm the growth coach of Northern Virginia, as Lita said, and I work with business owners, executives, sales organizations, strategic planning, business development, sales training. And, I've got a background in sales and business management. I started my career in the U.S. Army as an Army officer. And from there, started working for ExxonMobil on the plastics packaging side, and worked manufacturing with ExxonMobil, and then got into sales, started selling the products and services that we provided in the factory, then worked for Coca-Cola. Worked for ExxonMobil for 6 years, and then Coca-Cola for just shy of 21 years. And I've owned the growth coach in Northern Virginia for 7 years, believe it or not. Don't do the math out there. Just don't do the
I was starting to run it like,
Don't do it. I started at 12. Just go with that. Let's go with that.
I love it. And one thing I love about these conversations, so, even just you kind of quickly going through your bio and working with you, seeing the work that you do, a lot of times what we see is just the amazing thing that the person is doing, right?
Yeah.
But what this does is it shows people kind of like what I like to say, the human side, right?
Yeah.
So with all that, with what you just shared, what pivotal moment are you going to share with us today?
Yeah. You're exactly right. We look at other people and we think, Lita has it all together. I wish I could be as smooth. She has no problems, no issues. And, to an extent, we're all like that duck, right? On that cool pond, but our feet are moving like crazy under the water that nobody sees. So, we all go through challenges. Pivotal moments, I've had a number of them, because I feel like life is, it's a series of moments, right? Life is a series of moments. And a friend of mine was just sharing with me that situation. She was getting her car fixed, and someone was sharing their pivotal moment. I have a number of different situations. Obviously, when you have kids, and you get to a point where the kids are doing their own thing and they're just contacting you maybe to talk about insurance or talk about buying a home or something like that, where you're not jumping in and saving them. That's a pivotal moment as an example. But for me, the one that I want to share is going from corporate America to owning your own business. That was a pivotal moment for me. You know, I worked for Coca-Cola. I worked with a lot of restaurants. You know, I worked with Five Guys. I worked with Popeyes, and you know, you help them with their marketing, and you help them with their products and services, putting together prizes, games, different things like that. I wore a lot of different hats, and it was fun for me. Where you know, you might be working on the service side to make sure their machines and, you know, their fountain machines, everything's working real well. And then when we went to freestyle, doing that kind of thing. But there was a point where it wasn't as fun as it used to be. And I always said, you know, as I went through my military career, as I went through with ExxonMobil, I always said, as long as I enjoy what I'm doing, then I'm going to continue to do it. And I just feel like life is pretty short. So there's no point in us just grinding a job, just doing a job. And so when you get to a point where it's not as much fun, and what made it not as much fun is, you know, we had less and less resources because of downsizing, right? Different, you know, the company's downsizing. First time, it's like, you know, you have one downsizing situation, and then a year later another, and then pretty soon it seemed like every 6 months or so we're making adjustments. And there's organizational adjustments, there's operational adjustments, there's budget adjustments. So we all ended up having to do more with less, which was not as much fun. So I decided, hey, I think I'm gonna do my own thing. And I had always had that in the back of my mind, that I wanted to start my own business. And so I'm thinking, man, that's a big jump. My kids were both in college, and I talked to my wife about it, and she said, hey, if this is something that you feel like you want to do, but we got to tell the kids. So the kids are both in college. One's in North Carolina and one's in Atlanta, and we get them on conference, and hey, how's it going? What's going on? And I said, hey, I just wanted to talk with you guys a little bit about the future. And, you know, you hear that silence. And I said, hey, I think that I'd like to get out and start my own business. I think I'm going to leave Coca-Cola and jump out on my own. And so then there was this maybe 15-second pause. And then my son says, good for you, Dad. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, good for you. And he said, you know, the last couple years, you've not been the same person, because we forget that, you know, our temperament, our situation, how we deal with different things affects other people, right? And so they can see that change, whether it's you know, like an emotional thing or whatever it is, they can see it. And so he was like, you know, you haven't been the same the last couple of years, so if this is something you want to do, I think that'll be great. My daughter said the same thing. And it almost made me cry, because I'm like, wow, I was thinking that they would have all these questions around, you know, are we going to be able to, you know, survive? Can I stay in college? They didn't have any of the what about me stuff.
Wow. And
it really touched me that they were like, hey, if this is what you want to do, we're behind you 100%. And we know that you've thought it through, you're going to figure it out. And so we're good with that. So that conversation, I thought, would probably be, you know, at least 20, 30-minute conversation, ended up being like a 12, 15-minute conversation. They were like, is that it? I'm like, I was like, yeah, that's it, you know? But then, you know, you have to think about running a business, and of course, you know, all the different things you have to do to legally get a business up and running, but also to have a viable and productive business. So a lot of arms and legs to that, but that was a huge moment for me. And, you know, when you have those conversations and you're not quite sure where they're going to go, what road it's going to go down, it's an interesting situation.
Wow, that is amazing. And, you know, so there's a couple things I was like, wait, just don't jump in just yet. nuggets in that. One, so I'm gonna come back to the main one. So the first thing I'll say is the fact that, for your family to respond that way,
Yeah.
I believe it shows that there was already a pattern of, good communication, them seeing your hard work, you showing yourself as a reliable parent and stable person in the
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
And so I think that's worth mentioning, right? Because
Yeah.
to your point, sometimes that is a fear, for the head of house or the parent
Hmm.
or what have
Hmm.
you. But it's kind of trusting that, as parents, you work hard to keep the home stable,
Right.
to make sure the kids are good. Like I said, they were in college. And so trusting the process, right?
Yeah.
Trusting
Yeah.
that your hard work pays off. And
Yeah.
that when you've built that trust and that reputation, we don't think about it in the home, right? We think
Right.
about our
Right.
reputation out in the community and on
Yep.
our jobs, but
Yep.
you really are building a reputation in the home. So
Yep.
when you had that conversation, they took a pause, but it was like, okay, dad is going to make sure everything is fine no matter what. So that's that.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
interesting. Yeah.
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 So I think that is definitely worth highlighting. And then the other thing is, I was having a conversation with my husband recently, and we were talking about, I always talk, like with my clients, I always talk about determine who you want to be.
Yep.
And I think sometimes when you're a little bit more later in life, so, you're out of your 20s,
Hmm.
30s,
Hmm.
that question, you feel like you're not asking that question anymore. I believe that so many times people think they're kind of stuck with where they are. Like,
Right.
this is who I am. This
Right.
is what I am, right?
Yep. Yep.
But what your story shows is that you can continue to reinvent yourself. You can determine
Yeah.
at any moment who you want to be. And I love that because that's exactly what I tell people. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like,
Yep.
with some of my clients, I say this thing, who's going to check you? Who's
Right.
going to check
Right.
you, right?
That's right.
You
That's
can
right.
determine who you want to be, and you made a decision. You were not happy with where you were. Doesn't mean it was bad, horrible,
Right.
terrible. You
Yep.
just weren't happy, and
That's
you
right.
made a decision that you wanted something different. You wanted to be something different. You wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yep. Yep. That's
I
exactly
love it.
it.
Yeah.
Yep. Because you're right. I grew up at Coca-Cola. I learned a lot of good stuff about business and about people, and I would not trade it.
Yeah.
But you're right. You can do other things, and it's funny. It's a mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's a mindset that I can do this thing, but it's funny that how you perceive yourself and how others perceive yourself.
Yeah.
When you talk about Myers-Briggs or DISC, and I'm certified in DISC, it's one of those things where sometimes we think that we're defined by what we do, and we don't have to be, right? So you can decide to turn the page. You can decide to do other stuff.
I love it. Oh my goodness. So, when I first started Pivotal Moments, I was very linear in my questions, right? So it was like, well, what's the adjustments? And over the past couple of years, what I realized, what kept coming up is that, like you mentioned earlier, life is full of several different pivots and adjustments and all of that.
Yep.
So, when you're thinking of the adjustments in this whole process, what were those? What was the challenge for you? You made this decision, everybody was on board, but what were some of those adjustments that you had to make?
Man. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how much time do we have?
It's like, yeah, how much time do we have? Pick one, because first off, I never owned a business, and it's funny when you're working for somebody else, you got all kinds of ideas, and it's hey, I would do it this way. I don't know why they're thinking of setting things up this way. I could do different, but when you're the boss and when it's your budget and it's your P&L, things are a little different. Like when you start projects and programs, with a big company, you're not so concerned about budget as much as when it's your budget. So you have to learn a lot about managing your money and investing, right? When you start a business, a lot of us wear a lot of hats. Some of us wear all of the hats. So when we talk about, marketing, we talk about sales, and we talk about, if we have people that work for us, people management and strategy and development, you've got to learn all of those things. Now, I grew up learning that stuff, especially, starting off in the military with building teams and strategy and planning and implementation, all of that good stuff, mission, vision. But, starting a business is a whole new deal. And so, like I said, the process of setting yourself up as an S Corp or an LLC or whatever that is, and learning what those are, number one. Number two, you got to have a marketing strategy and plan and those kinds of things. I didn't know anything about, social media, right? It was Coca-Cola, so I didn't really need to know a whole lot other than looking up information about people that I worked with. But I had to learn about, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of that stuff. I hadn't done any video interviews. I hadn't done my own videos and, webinars. I had to learn how to do webinars. I still need to do a podcast like you. I've been on podcasts, but I've never done one. So that's something I need to do. But there are a lot of firsts for me as a business owner. And I think sometimes we procrastinate because it's like, well, I don't want to mess this up. So I need to make sure it's perfect. And, as coaches, you and I know everything's not always going to be perfect. In fact, it probably is never going to be perfect.
Right.
But you've got to move forward, and you can't not do a video because, you want to make sure you get the script just perfect, or you're not sure how to do things. Like, if you're not doing any social media, pick something, go ahead and do a profile and get started. And sometimes I think we get overwhelmed with all the different choices that we get paralyzed and we don't do anything. So that's one of the biggest challenges when I work with other people is, hey, let's just get it out of the way. You're going to make mistakes. Okay. We all make mistakes. So let's not tread so lightly because we're afraid that we're going to make those mistakes. And so a lot of the learning for me was getting the business set up, doing a lot of things that I had never done, managing my own budget and putting together my own marketing strategy plan. And, the sales side was not hard for me because, I've got over 25 years in sales, so I can build a sales strategy plan, all that stuff. The thing is, in my business, Lita, there are a lot of coaches that just do executive coaching, or they just do sales training, or they just work with groups, or they just work one-on-one. And I do all of it. And I do all of it because I love it all. And I'm used to, at Coca-Cola, I'm used to being the one that, if they didn't pay their invoice, I'm the collector of the invoice. If the truck doesn't get there, I've got to figure out a way to get product to them. If they want to do a new marketing program, I'm going to work with them on a game or some kind of a marketing situation, or bundling their products and services to include Coca-Cola, that kind of thing. So I'm used to wearing a lot of different hats, which is kind of weird because people say, you should specialize, look at your niche. My heart and soul's in selling and sales, but you can't do the sales and the marketing if you don't have a strategic plan, an annual plan, and knowing where you're going. So I like that part of it too, which is kind of interesting because most business owners, a lot of them, it's like, I want to be really good at what I do, but I don't want to do any of that other stuff. The stuff I don't want to do, I don't want to do. It's like, okay, but you got to make some money first before you can not do some things and pay other people to do it. So
listen, you said so much right now. So what came to mind? So many people know I'm building My Natural Me into a nonprofit,
Yep.
and so it's so funny that you say that because I consider myself pretty skilled at a number of things.
Yep.
I do a lot of solo things, like you said in the beginning. We're wearing most of the hats.
Yep.
So I talked with a couple people about like the articles of incorporation, and I did get
Mhm.
some feedback and all of that. But again, we're talking budgets and all that. So I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and, get this together and submit it myself.
Yep.
So I did that, took my time and everything. So the beautiful part about it, at least here in the state of Virginia, I don't know about the others, but they will reject it and tell you what was wrong and give you the opportunity to fix it.
Yep.
Mike, let me tell you, my little heart was so broke when I got that. I mean, I was having an amazing day. And when I tell you, I was like, and of course this goes into, I don't consider myself a perfectionist, but people say you really have an underlying perfectionist attitude because I was devastated. I'm like, rejected. Like, okay, so now I got to go and I got to find and all that. But I share that because it's exactly what you're saying. I had to have the talk with myself and say, oh my gosh, this is not the end of the world.
No.
They've rejected it and told you what you need to do to fix it. Like, get yourself together. And that speaks to what you're talking about, right? As business owners or whatever your path is. We hold back because we don't want to feel that feeling. We don't want to feel like we failed or the disappointment of it. We may not have the budget to hire people, so we're trying to do it all ourselves. And we're just, we paralyze ourselves. We say, I'm not going to do it. But I was like, girl, if you don't go ahead and start, get back up and do it. And that's what you're talking about, right? Like you said, you might love sales and the numbers and the strategizing, which those are all things I do not like. But like you said, you may not be such a fan of like the social media and those aspects, right? But you figured it out. You figured it out. You're doing it. You may not have a podcast yet, but you have a Thursday talk. Series, right? So, I think what you said is so important, again, for people to understand. Listen, the adjustments come with having to learn a lot of new things.
That's right.
You and I have talked before, which I don't understand, not to take away from either one of our businesses, but there's so much that a person can find on their own.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
And but that's the beauty also of what we do. Like people will say, like, you can go out and get a strategic plan. You can get a template anywhere. You can go to the Small Business Administration. You can take classes. It's not that there's not help out there. It's just like you said, a lot of folks don't want to do it. Yeah. And so that's the reason why you want somebody that will go through the outline with you and work through your plan and give you homework to do and come back and talk about it. And the other thing is, you can have the best business in the world. You can be living your dream, but there's still aspects of it that you don't like. Just like you said, there's still aspects that you don't like. Chasing money. People don't want to pay you. All of these different things. And you're like, I don't want to have this conversation. But what you have to, as they say, keep your eye on the prize. You want to help people. You've got a product or service that you feel is viable and is going to support you and help other clients or the community. That's what you have to keep in mind when you have to do the hard stuff or the stuff you don't want to do. It's like, okay, are you not going to redo this thing and really provide this great service? Or do you understand that the thing that you're doing is bigger than you, and just go ahead on and make these changes and keep moving forward? Because the biggest thing is keep moving forward, right?
Yeah. Wow. Well, that leads us to our last part of the conversation. So this is the time where if people didn't get anything else, if they just for some reason blocked out the entire conversation and you want to leave them with one message directly to those tuned in, what is that message that you want to share directly with people?
The message I want to share is, it's possible to serve the community and make money. Okay. They're not mutually exclusive. You can provide a service and help people, and it's okay if you make a little money along the way, because, our focus should be on providing support to people and helping them get to where they want to be. And the byproduct of that is you might get a couple coins along the way doing that. And that sounds simplistic, Lita, but the thing is, we're all, I got to get my business up. We got to make money. We got to make money. We got to make revenue. And, when I do sales training, the sales training is not about, let me try to convince this person to buy my products and services. First of all, that sounds a little desperate. The idea is, let me learn a little bit about Lita and where she's going, and let me see if I've got some products or services that can help her along the way. Because if I have that conversation with her, then she feels like I'm listening to what her needs are, because I'm talking about providing those needs. And that's what sales is. It's about building relationships. And really, that's what business is. Business is about building relationships and helping people. And the byproduct is, making some money. The byproduct is you're going to get paid for it. It's not the other way around where, okay, I got to figure out a way to get this 500K, this 1 million, and let me see what products and services I can serve up to get there. It's, how do I serve the community? How do I help these businesses, or how do I help these residents, these folks that, these individuals, and then, they're going to pay me to do that.
Wow.
That's the beauty.
That is so powerful for so many reasons. Oh my goodness. I'm doing a course that is going to break down like different ways we can be free to move.
Right.
And one of the topics is going to be about the poverty mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what that made me think about with what you said, that so many of us, for a variety of different reasons, don't truly believe that we can serve our community and make money. It's almost that we almost feel like it's something wrong with that equation.
Right. Right.
So I love what you said. And I know I was like, that's your last power statement to people, but I tell you, I would love to get your feedback. And I don't know if you can give us a little snippet now, but we see a shift in the culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we see, and I hate to be a soapbox person for social media because I use it heavily,
Right.
But social media is kind of changing the shift in that it's encouraging the why to be quick money and popularity, right?
Right.
Everything is about, can I get the views, and then can I convert those views into making a lot of money very quickly? So
Right.
I would be curious, and maybe we do this part 2, but if you just quickly touch on your thinking behind what that means for business, right? Because like you said, the why really should be, how do I serve? How do I help? And then, by the way, I make I make money with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you fearful about where we are in the stream of things when it comes to business? How do we get people back to that mentality? Is that a quick answer, or do we need to have part two?
I think that, it's you and I. I mean, we have to guide and help some of these business owners understand that, your why is important, because people want to understand your journey to where you are right now. Everybody has their own story, and you need to be able to tell people how you got to this point in your life and why you are, running this particular business, providing these services. And, I'm always surprised at some of the stories, but you need to understand your why, and you need to be able to articulate it. And again, when we're making these videos, when we're marketing our business, we need to do it in a way in which we are trying to build a relationship. So what does that mean? That means that when you're building a marketing strategy or plan, you have to have an idea of who your client is and where they are and how is it best that you should communicate to them, because that's gonna give you an idea of the platform that you should be using, right?
Yeah.
All of us aren't going to be using Instagram. All of us aren't going to be using LinkedIn or Facebook, but maybe you might, and they're all different, right?
Yep.
Like I have a Facebook group, Strategic Business Owner Facebook group, that's on Facebook. But, I get a lot of communication and build a lot of relationship around that Thursday Talk 2-minute video, but that's more on LinkedIn. Now I put it on different platforms, but that's more of a LinkedIn kind of a thing. So you've got to have that heart of, okay, so who is my client and how am I going to work with them? But also, as they say in sports, you want to play the long game. So it's, how do I build a relationship with Lita and understand where she's going and what she's doing? If you have that heart that I want to understand my clients, and by the way, they're trying to understand you and what you're doing, then you're going to have a longer relationship. What does that mean? And why do you want the long versus the short term that you mentioned? Is because a longer term relationship, people are going to look for ways to do more business with you. And even if they can't do more business with you, they're going to tell other people about you because they know you, they like you, and they trust you. And so if you can get to that relationship where people know, like, and trust you, then they're going to talk more about you. Well, what's that? That's marketing. And that's the best form of marketing. If Lita is telling somebody else about Mike Williams, that's way more powerful than Mike Williams, doing a short video and telling people what I do and why I think it's so great. But if you say it, it's more of a validation. And so, like you said, the short hits, that's going to be more of a transactional thing. And yeah, you can grow your business with that. But I think you've got a more viable business, you've got better relationships, and you've got happier clients if you work to build those relationships. And I think going back to what you said, am I concerned about it? Well, I think that shift is what's going to keep you and me in business. Yeah. Because we've got to get out and have the conversations, the long game conversations, the relationship type conversations, and making sure that people are looking at it from let me get to know these folks, let me understand them, let me find out what they need, and then let me deliver. Because if I can deliver, then I'm going to get the results. It's sort of like what you said about the reputation thing. If you've got that reputation and people will say that, they'll say, you know what? I feel like you're really genuine. I feel like you're not trying to push me into something. Well, when you're a coach, that doesn't work anyway. If I got to force you to work with me, it's not going to work, because I'm going to be giving you homework. we're going to be working on stuff. And if you're not believing in it, it's not going to be good work. You're not going to feel good about it. You're not going to want to do it. And so I need you to want to do those things. And, you've got to have those conversations and understand where people are and what their pain points are before you can take them down any road or go down any road with them.
I absolutely love that. I think the last part I will add to that is two things. One, if we study history and we see how things go, the reality is you can make a lot of money. There's tons of things you can do to make a lot of money, but we can look at sports people, we can look at entertainers, we can look at people across the board, and money does not keep you successful, and it doesn't keep money coming in, right?
No, it doesn't.
Just because you may get behind something that brings you instant, quick money, it doesn't last, right? You have to build something stronger than that. And then the second thing I will add is people pay for what you do for them. I mean, at the end of the day, if we strip it down to what it is, people pay you for what you benefit, how you benefit them, what you do for them. Yep. So we have to be careful, like you said, of making sure we're building a strong reputation that will last.
That's
because
right.
If what we bring people is an instant temporary gratification, and they may pay us a lot of money for that, at a certain point, we will not be able to bring that instant gratification, right? Yep. And so at that point, what do we do? Because they will no longer pay you when
That's
you're
right.
not bringing them that service, right?
That's right. That's right.
So we'll just have to make another conversation. You know how we
We're
can
gonna
make
have to do it again because I could talk. I could talk with you all day. You'll have to cut me off. You'd be like, Mike, no more,
me
Mike.
too, right? So between the two of us. Well, this has been great, Mike, once again. Thank you for coming on Pivotal Moments, sharing your moment. How can people reach you? I'm sure after hearing this conversation, after watching, hearing, of course, I'll have your information in the show notes. But again, just share. If people want to schedule some time with you, they want to learn more, they want to build their business, whatever the case, how can they reach the Growth Coach of Northern Virginia?
Well, they could go to my website, the Growth Coach of Northern VA, and they can email me through that. My email address is mwilliams@thegrowthcoach.com, and they can reach me on LinkedIn, which is the Growth Coach of NOVA. And they can reach me through my strategic business owner group page, or they can reach me on Facebook. But certainly reach out. I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody. It doesn't cost anything other than your time. Tell me your situation, what you're trying to do, and let's see if I can help you in any way get to where you want to be.
I love it. And of course, that information is there. The links are there. So once again, Mike, thank you so much for joining the conversation. And to those tuned in, season 4, we're excited. Once again, thank you all for your support and continuing to support Pivotal Moments with Lita. And we will see you next time. Take care.
Thanks, Lita. Thanks for letting me be your first guest on season 4. Appreciate it.
Awesome.